Well, it was interesting to watch the press conference this afternoon because we see the new funding enrollment model come out, and it's a little bit light on details. So I actually have a lot of questions about it as I look at it. I mean, there are a couple positives within there. I appreciate to see that the nutrition funding is still there, and I'm happy to see that they will be funding for PUF, because I know that was a concern for a lot of my colleagues across the province, and we still need to see what that looks like. I like the fact that there will be predictability moving forward, because we've seen a year this year so far that has been wrought with uncertainty, and to have predictability moving forward, but we need to still see some adequacy in terms of the funding. The funding needs to be more adequate in terms of what we see moving forward.
We were talking about this, so if there's predictability in March or whenever they set the time, if a school knows that they're going to have 500 students, what is the incentive for them to attract students or keep students, which in essence costs more when they know that their budget is a certain amount?
Well, it's a great question, because one of the problems that I see with this funding model and the weighted formula that they have is you're actually always behind. Mm-hmm. And students need funding on day one. They don't need funding 2 years down the road. So we playing with some numbers, you would still be short funding for new students in your school. So even though the date might change into March, that gives you some predictable funding moving forward. So kids are still going to move into communities. Mm-hmm. Our high schools are still going to want to offer programs to rural schools. I come from a rural district myself, know what that's like in order to offer programming. They still want to do that for service to their students. But they're still behind in terms of the funding. So to me, there's still a little bit of a shortfall in the funding that school boards will have at that point.
What do you make of the fact that they said that there is no funding cuts at 8.23
billion?
Yeah, at that number, yet there could be 7% more students. What do you make of that math?
Well, we've always been making those comments as an association about the shortfall in funding. So when the budget came down in 2019, there was a movement of some grants, class size initiative grant, the transportation grant, and the class improvement fund. And there was a shortfall there. Every board across this province said that we have a shortfall. We did a FOIP request that was given, the information was given out last year that showed the actuals from the year before were $136 million short. So to hear the minister say today, and hear Alberta Education say that this is flat, we're maintaining funding, that we will see growth, I can't reconcile those two things from what I see on paper and what I hear school boards tell me to what I hear the ministry say, and the lack of detail in what the funding manuals will look like, which we'll get next week. I can't reconcile that, so I need to be able to see those numbers.
So they're saying accurately that the number is not changing, the dollar number is not changing, but the per student number is certainly changing.
Definitely. And we've seen that happen in the last budget as well when they rearranged those 3 grants already. So to take 36 grants down to 15 grants is a significant change, but there's no specifics about what that change is today. So we, as they said in the press conference, we'll have to wait till next week to see what those funding grants look like.
How would you characterize your thoughts, feelings, emotions going into next week's budget?
I'm worried about the budget, quite frankly. I think that I've been hearing from my colleagues across the province that the class sizes are growing. Our polling information that we released today indicated that Albertans are also concerned about class sizes. They want to see more money put into public education to reduce class size, to address the complexity needs that we see in terms of our classrooms. And I'm worried that the budget will fail to do that. And once again, teachers in this province will be asked to do more with less. And less again, apparently, by another budget that potentially could have a shortfall in it as well.
And that's just the money going into the schools and the school boards. What about the contracts that are coming up?
Well, negotiations is a different conversation.
It is, but it's showing you where they're at as far as their want to spend.
Well, and they've already indicated through previous announcements what their plan is moving forward in terms of salaries. We're just starting that process, and the teachers of Alberta will actually determine where we go with that. I don't determine our initial ask for our contracts, the teachers of Alberta do it. So we're just starting that process.
What do you make of this divide between, I guess, urban schools and rural schools? I mean, the government's funding model seems like it favors rural schools with a declining population, but it's very bad for, a school board like in Edmonton with a rising population.
Well, and it's a really good indication of needing to see the specifics about what this all actually means on paper. So the weighted formula based on enrollments, previous year, next year, this year, I want to see that because I think it's a big concern. Our FOIP request that we released last year on the actuals for the budget show the Urbans all taking multi-million-dollar cuts to funding. And I'm worried about that, but also the rurals did as well. They took a lot of cuts as well. So we have to see what that means, and we see a lot of the growth in urban areas. They need to be sustained, but we also need to make sure that we're sustaining our rural schools as well. So we need to see the specifics.
What about the fact that they released it a week before and don't really have numbers for a lot of this?
Yeah, that's a great comment. I mean, it's one of the things when I was watching the press conference, and I've been awaiting this news and the new funding formula for a while, and but we need to see the specifics. So to get sort of these major themes of where they want to go is a good indication, and we just need to see the specifics. Right? It's hard to make a really good educated guess. You need to actually see the numbers, and that was the reason actually why we did that FOIP over the previous budget, because the actual column wasn't there, just what they were giving the boards that year. And so the specifics are really important, and so that a lot of the details need to be heard.
Do you think it may indicate that it's going to be really bad? And what it means is that they're ahead of it for a week, they're letting us, the media, mull it over, consider, you guys think about it, all the school boards consider it. Do you think it's just kind of an opening salvo to say, you know what, that we should be thinking it's going to be bad, but it gives us a week to chew on it?
You know, the optimist in me will say that I hope it is not bad. Right? I don't want for my students and my colleagues to have cuts to the system. I don't want to see kids who need special provisions to help them succeed in school to have that cut. I don't want to see my colleagues' class sizes grow. And our polling that we released yesterday shows that Albertans don't either. The government has an opportunity here to fund public education as Albertans would like them to do so. And I am scared that they're going to miss this opportunity to do right by the students of this province.
So where do you go from here? I mean, you have the polling data. Do you feel like you're even being listened to by the government right now if you brought this to them?
Well, I mean, we always will, every opportunity to talk with the government I will take, and hopefully when I meet with the minister next that we can sit down and have this conversation about class size and complexities. I bring it up every time I meet with her, that we need to actually see some positive changes that reduce class size in this province, and our polling information supports that. So hopefully we can talk about, this is what Albertans are saying, where's the opportunity for you to move this forward, and this is that opportunity to show their commitment to Alberta's growth, to Alberta's students, and to their parents as well.